Welcome to the Ottawa Business Journal's live broadcast of Upgrade Your Hybrid Meeting Experience. I'm Michael Curran from the Ottawa Business Journal. Thank you so much for joining us today. So we're making progress in this pandemic. Yesterday, Canada hit the 30 million vaccination mark. Isn't that impressive? And Ottawa is around the 700,000 mark in terms of vaccination. All that means the reality of returning to our office is drawing closer. But that reality might not be the old reality. It seems increasingly clear that the new normal will be a hybrid workforce. And what I mean by that is some people in the office, some people working from home. And certainly when it comes to collaborating with our clients and our suppliers, I think there's no turning back from the audio-visual revolution that has happened over the last year or so. Today, we continue our series on that topic, looking at how you can become a more efficient, collaborative workforce by using some simple tools. And we have a great expert lined up with you once again today. Before I introduce that expert, let me bring in my colleague from the Ottawa Business Journal. Please welcome Peter Kavesi. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing great today. I'm eager to dig into this. This is the third in a series of webinars on this topic, so we're really excited to dig into more of the details and talk really about the practicality of a lot of these things. But Peter, you're going to be helping today, and you're going to explain how today's live audience can get involved.
So we really want to make this webinar as interactive as possible, and we're going to do that in a couple ways. So the first one is that we really want to hear the questions that are on our audience's minds. So we're encouraging everyone to please share your thoughts, comments, and particularly questions in the chat window. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's located just below the video box on the right-hand side. You do need to be logged into YouTube in order to leave a comment. And the other way we're making this interactive is that we did some advanced polling of our registrants in advance about their thoughts on how on collaboration tools and strategies in the workplace. So I'll be back in just a few minutes with the results from our first poll.
Thanks for that, Peter. We'll see you in just a few minutes. So it's time to meet our special guest today. He is once again from Interactive Audiovisual, great local company, real experts in this. Let's take a look at this short video that explains the company.
Interactive Audiovisual makes business communication easy and productive by providing turnkey video conferencing solutions, installation, and training, helping you upgrade your virtual meeting experience.
And now please welcome to the show, Rob Lantier. Hello, Rob.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a bright sunny day in almost summer. I hope you're enjoying the good weather.
I hope to be soon, yes.
Okay. Well, we'll get you through this and then you can go for a walk or something.
Perfect.
So Rob, just tell us a little bit about yourself to kick things off. You've got a significant background and experience in this.
Yeah, I've been with Interactive Audiovisual for quite some time now, 10 years, almost 10 years. I'm the installation and service manager, so I do a lot of project management and help out clients with all sorts of their requirements.
Well, you're the perfect man for the job. That's great. And Rob, you're in a perfect position to comment on some of the audiovisual trends that are happening. I presume you're talking to someone almost on an hourly basis during work days on this. So what do you expect to see in terms of trends?
Well, we're seeing some of the things that started pre-pandemic, I think, are now accelerating. So the movement towards smaller collaboration spaces, but many more of them within the workspace. Also hoteling. So people don't necessarily have to go into the same office all the time, but they might go into a satellite office and work from there.
And Rob, I suspect that a lot of people watching today or listening have been thinking about these issues, and maybe they're putting off decisions, on when they should be making some solid decisions. So when do you think what's your advice to them if they're thinking about changes to their office space?
Well, I think they really need to start soon, as early as possible, before everyone gets back into the workspace, for sure. One of the things they might consider is to hire a company like IAV who can go in and help assess where they're at with their equipment and make some recommendations.
Okay. Well, that's a good start to the show, Rob. Thank you very much. Let's just take a step back for our listeners and viewers and look at today's agenda. So, our first topic will be evaluating your current space. Our second topic will be where you want to be, planning for the future. We just talked about that. And topic number 3 will be how do you get there and keep evolving? Because I think, as is everything in the technology space, it's not a one in a lifetime. After that, by the way, so in about 20 minutes or so, that's when we'll be talking to our audience. Rob and Peter will come in and pose some questions. And again, as Peter said, please ask those questions. We're here to get those answers for you. So let's dive right into this, Rob, and take a look at our first topic, evaluating your current space. And let's start with the physical layout. So many offices, many managers, that is, or company owners, managers are looking at their office and thinking about them with a little bit more of a critical eye. And I'm talking about the physical layout of the office. So what questions do you think employers should be asking, Rob, when it comes to their current space?
Well, some of the things they might ask is how do they use their meeting spaces, and how do they reserve their meeting spaces? Is it online, or is it are there room schedules at the individual rooms? And then how do people connect and interact with the room technology? Is it something that it takes a long time to get meetings started? Is there a lot of interaction with the technology, or is it very simple? And what are the impacts of all this on your human resources?
I like the point about impact there, by the way. So, I can imagine people walking into a meeting room and not being able to get a meeting started, or being, hesitant at maybe the health considerations in the room and that type of stuff. So that's excellent. The next thing I wanted to ask you about, Rob, is technology, because that kind of underpins everything we're talking about today. There's physical space, but then there's the technology that kind of enables the collaboration. So when it comes to the IT aspects, what common issues do you think people might be wrestling with?
Well, excuse me, with these hybrid spaces where video conferencing on whatever platform you're using is going to be, it's going to be a requirement now. You need to ensure that your network is robust, to handle all of that traffic. And if you had an issue pre-pandemic, it's going to be you're going to notice it much more post-pandemic. And then make sure that your technology is working when people come back.
Yeah, I can think about that. If we go back, let's just say 2 years ago, people might have been having a lot of conversations with clients and suppliers on phones, and now they're on video. Well, that's a really heavy load on the network. So that's a great point, Rob. Something that people need to keep in mind. It's a basic infrastructure type question right now. So let's, as promised, go to Peter Cavesi. So we'll bring Peter back on screen. And as Peter said, Peter has been asking some advanced poll questions to today's audience. Peter, why don't you share the first question and results with us?
So the sudden movement towards remote work really thrust the issue of employee collaboration under the microscope. So we wanted to ask our audience about the tools that would really help elevate collaboration, particularly in a hybrid environment. So Rob, we were just talking about the stronger network connection, but I'm curious about the issue of audio equipment. When it comes to working together as a team in collaboration, why is audio so important?
Well, audio is the key factor in video collaboration to get your point across or to be understood. So having the video is fantastic to pick up those visual cues that someone might be using, but the audio is 90% of the communication. So it's really key that you can be well understood. So having good quality microphones in the room, and having your external participants with good quality microphones will help everybody understand much better.
Those are really, really good takeaway points. And just a reminder to our audience as well that we do want to hear the thoughts and questions that are on your mind. Please leave them in the chat window. We'll be posing some of those questions to Rob towards the end of the broadcast.
Thanks, Peter. So let's move on to topic number 2, which is, again, where you want to be in planning for the future. And Rob, I'm going to ask you about this concept of reconnecting in the office. So what do you think the first step is in creating a more collaborative and connected office?
Well, the hybrid office definitely includes video. So your collaboration spaces will be used a little bit differently now, whereas pre-pandemic, you may have had 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people in a meeting room working on a project. Going forward, I think you'll see 2 or 3 people in the office in that collaboration space and 2 or 3 people working remotely. So having that that video capability and good quality audio capability in your meeting spaces is really going to be key.
And I wanted to ask about smarter meeting rooms. I like this concept of a smarter meeting room. I hope it gives me smart things to say. So for those businesses that are looking to kind of embrace that, connective technology, what options should they be considering when it comes to these smart meeting rooms?
Well, first of all, I think that they need to be easy to use. That's a really key factor in having people comfortable in those meeting spaces. So an easy way to book meeting rooms would be one, maybe room signs or scheduling panels outside the room so you know if they're being used or if they're going to be used shortly. Less interaction maybe with the equipment in the room. So you walk in the room and the sensors turn everything on for you. So you don't have to interact as much with the technology. And people are actually get really comfortable with that. And it's much easier to operate the room.
It seems like such a simple point, but it's worth just thinking about for a second, because if you're going in, for example, to a boardroom and you're going to give a pitch to a major client, and that contract might be worth tens of thousands of dollars, and something goes wrong in terms of the connectivity and that type of thing, that's not a small detail, right, Rob? You're involved somewhat in the sales process. You don't want things to go south like that. It's a poor reflection on your company, and it might set the meeting off on the wrong foot, right?
Absolutely. And that's one of the fears with the technology in the meeting rooms is that in the past, it's been difficult to connect. It's been hard to get meetings started. Our goal is to make it easy for that to happen and start your meetings on time. You can walk into a room and the room may know what the meeting is. You can have the technology turn the lights on or lower the lights, raise or lower shades, automatically turns the technology on, goes to a specific input. So you're essentially ready to start sharing your content within seconds of entering the room.
Yeah, there's definitely increased complexity, and that's why they need companies like Interactive Audio Visual. I want to talk about managing collaboration. So how do you think employers can effectively manage all of these tools and help their employees?
It's really important to ask yourself if you have the internal resources to support all this. Not every company has the human resources or even the technology available right now to implement some of these solutions, and that's where a company like Interactive Audio Visual can come in and really help implement these things and help manage them with you.
That's a great answer. So let's bring Peter Kavesi back on screen, and Peter's going to share some information about our second advanced poll. Peter, we'll have you tell us about that poll and what people said.
Well, our second poll question really picks up on what Rob was just sort of mentioning there about resources, in particular human resources. We, of course, appreciate that organizations come in all different sizes and different operating models. But as there is this new adoption of different tools, and especially among remote workers, we wanted to ask, I was curious about, who takes ownership of a lot of these tools. And what we found is that by and large, individuals are are their own IT specialists in a lot of cases. Rob, give us your take on this. What are the pros and cons of individuals sort of relying on themselves to help troubleshoot their IT tools?
Well, it can be very difficult and challenging for some people, for sure. But now, with people working from home much more, they're certainly being forced into being their own support. But in the office, you shouldn't have to do that. Individuals shouldn't need to do that. And there are firms like IAV that can certainly help with the technology and supporting that technology.
Well, thank you very much, guys. That tees up, I think, the third topic really well. The third topic, again, as we dive into it, is how do you get there and keep evolving? And maybe we'll start off with that concept of doing something in-house, Rob. So how can companies kind of set themselves up for this workplace?
Well, I think if you're a larger organization where you can you have the technical resources, maybe an IT department of 20 to 40 professionals who are able to support all the equipment in the rooms and the rooms themselves. And you also need a fair bit of financial resources in order to make those capital expenditures to upgrade the technology in these meeting rooms. So it is certainly possible for some companies to do that themselves.
I think maybe one of the key points on that one is that, and this isn't a knock, by the way, on existing IT departments or internal IT departments. They've been kind of thrust into this new world too, right? So they might in the past have been dealing with like local area networks or Wi-Fi issues or that type of stuff. Now they're suddenly dealing with microphones and lighting and cameras. So maybe that leads to the next question, Rob, which is, what do you think the most effective approach to some of this would be?
Well, what we're seeing is certainly an increase in something called AV as a service. So it's essentially a subscription model where companies really, small or medium-sized businesses in particular, can subscribe to a service from an AV company like Interactive Audiovisual, where you pay monthly for your AV equipment and services. So it's certainly a scalable model. So you can start out small, and as you grow, you can increase the number of rooms you have very easily.
When I think of that, maybe a fair comparison, Rob, would be, most companies would do their basic bookkeeping in-house, but when it comes to filing their taxes or getting specialized advice, right, they're going to have to go to the experts, and that, as I hope people are figuring out, is a company like Interactive Audiovisual. Give us a sense, so that AV is a service that's probably offered on a month-to-month basis, contract basis over a year. How would that work?
So it's quite simple. It's very much like most companies don't purchase printers any longer. They subscribe to the service. AV is the same thing. A company like Interactive Audiovisual can consult with you to find out what your needs are in these spaces, and then provide all the technology, even the furniture for these spaces, on a monthly basis for a certain length of time. We would also provide all the installation services. We can provide monitoring services, so we may know if there's a problem in the room before you come in the morning, and we may be able to fix it remotely. There's lots of services that we can provide, and then if your company grows, we can add rooms easily. Also, it helps for that upgrade path in the future, where technology, as we know, changes so quickly. So in 3 or 5 years, will the technology in that room still fit your needs, or does it need to be upgraded to something else? And with the subscription model, it's quite easy to do that.
It's an interesting point that you just brought up. So, even staying on top of some of these technology changes, it's a little bit unrealistic, right? For, let's say it's a VP of sales or someone in human resources to be figuring out, what's the best video camera to use, what's the best lighting, microphones, touchless meeting systems, all that type of stuff. It's very unrealistic expectation to throw on people who aren't experts.
For sure, and that's our specialty. We want to be your technology partner in this. There's a regular review of needs and requirements, and we can revise the technology as required. We can also monitor the spaces to make sure that they are being used, and we can help with future office design, and saying that your meeting rooms are booked 9 hours a day, for example, or they're being used 9 hours a day. Do you need more office collaboration spaces, or maybe you need less? But we can put in some equipment to monitor that.
Just before we go to Peter with some questions, I wanted to ask Rob. Some people watching or listening today might be thinking, "Oh, they're talking about big government departments or companies with 1,000 employees and 20 people in IT." But some of what we're talking about is just as relevant to small and medium-sized enterprises. I presume you guys at Interactive Audiovisual work with both ends of the spectrum. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. We work with private business as well as government and institutions. We're happy to consult anytime. An email or a phone call to set up a quick conversation. We're more than happy to do that.
Okay, that's great. Peter, let's bring you back into the conversation. Any questions you wanna pitch at Rob?
So, Rob, everything we've been talking about today, it's a journey, right? And you've helped people along that journey many times. I'm curious, what are some of the common pain points that you often see organizations encounter, and that you help them overcome?
I think Rob's still. Oh, there you go. We had a second freeze there. So, Peter, do you want to ask that again?
Sure. I was just wondering, as organizations embark on this journey of upgrading their meeting equipment, what are some of the common pain points that you often see that you help them overcome?
Most often, it's making it easy to use the technology. That's one of the key factors. Is they may have had past experiences where they've invested the money in this, and then their teams don't use it. That's the last thing we want. Is we want to make sure that they have good adoption levels of the equipment.
One of the questions I had is I want to pick up on something that you've mentioned a couple of times this afternoon surrounding sort of analytics, meeting room analytics, and metrics. Could you expand a little bit on that? What should organizations be measuring when it comes to their meeting space and collaboration equipment?
Well, we can implement several different things. There's the meeting schedules, or the room booking panels that can be used, and it can be tracked how often rooms are being used. We can put in analytics so that we can find out if those rooms are being booked, but are they also being used? Those are sometimes two different things. Sometimes people book a meeting the same day every week for the entire year, but they never show up for that meeting. So we can help companies determine what the actual usage is, and that can help them going forward with their planning. So their space planning. Do they need more space? What kind of space do they need? Is it more meeting rooms, smaller meeting rooms, larger meeting rooms? Things like that.
Something else I was wondering, as the equipment gets more and more sophisticated, does cybersecurity ever come into the discussion? Is that ever sort of part of the picture that you look at with your customers?
Absolutely. That's definitely a concern. Um, as in most things now, a lot of audiovisual equipment is IP based, and so there may or may not be a connection to the internet. So cybersecurity is certainly at the forefront of for our concerns. So our equipment may be just an internal system that doesn't touch the internet, or it may be on the client's network, or we can create our own with our own firewall and secure monitoring system.
And I've got one more question for you, and it involves you looking into your crystal
Oh,
ball. As you look at some of the products and services and integrations that are sort of coming down the pipeline, what gets you really excited? What do you think is going to be part of the next wave of technology that's going to be making its way into offices and meeting spaces around the city?
well, I think definitely the continuation of the video platform, so Teams, Zoom, and within that, we're going to see a lot more analytics coming from that. And it's, we can collect the data, but how we use that data to make changes down the road will be very interesting.
And one other question that I know is part of all the discussions as we talk about return to work involves health and safety. Tell me about the discussions you're having surrounding sort of health and safety and a hybrid workforce with your customers.
Well, I've seen in some rooms, people put plastic dividers on the table in their meeting rooms, which is a good first step. But I think having a touchless environment may help. Also, may help staff feel more protected. So when they walk into a space, they don't need to interact with the technology. Everything can come on. They can even use Google or Alexa to control their meeting spaces. That's definitely a possibility. We do that in our own meeting room. So, anything that helps them feel safe and creating that hybrid workspace so that not everyone needs to be in the office. They can have some in the office and others participating in that collaboration remotely.
What was going through my mind as you were talking about touchless technology, even when we hopefully, emerge from the pandemic, I don't think anyone's going to be thinking about cold and flu season the same way anymore. I know that as I, move around places outside my own home, I'm so much more conscious about everything that I'm touching. It's so much more top of mind. So I absolutely do agree that the idea of touchless technology is likely going to have a lot more appeal going forward.
Likely less shared keyboards or that type of thing. Keyboards are one of those things that tend to accumulate a lot of bad germs and that type of stuff, right? And some of those I've seen some pictures of some of those touchless meeting rooms are really neat, either voice commanded, as you just said, Rob, or even just it's displaying the next scheduled meeting. You press it, and boom, you're in that video meeting. That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. The meetings, the room can know what meeting is next, and will start automatically for you.
That's really neat. So, Rob, listen, we're going to begin our wrap-up phase. Thank you very much, Peter, by the way, for walking us through those interactive components. Appreciate that. Rob, I'm just wondering if there might be people out there that are going. They understand the need. They understand they need to continue to evolve. But maybe they're intimidated or something about reaching out to an expert like you. What advice would you give to those people who are kind of, sitting on the sidelines, so to speak, and saying, "I know I need to get to this, but I'm not getting to it yet."
Yeah. It's important to start early, the process early. You need to make your team feel safe when they return, and you want everything to work for them when they return. So, pick up the phone and you can call me or call Interactive Audiovisual or send me an email or connect on LinkedIn, whatever it is. And we'll be happy to have that discussion and help out.
That's great. Well, why don't we bring up, that's a perfect segue. Why don't we bring up your contact information on screen there, Rob? So there you go, our Lantier at interactiveaudiovisual.com and his phone number. We'll be following up, by the way, with everyone that registered today to make sure that you get Rob's information. Any final thoughts, Rob, as we inch closer? Yeah, I think realistically we're a few months away from, or maybe even less, from more people being in the office. Any final thoughts that you could draw upon when you think of all those discussions with customers you have on a daily basis?
Well, I think that the return to office is going to seemingly happen very quickly. I think some people may be surprised a little bit by how quickly it happens, and it's important to be prepared. Be ready for your teams to be back in, and have the technology in place and working, and have it safe to be there.
Those are some good final thoughts. Thanks, Rob, for joining us today. You bringing 20 plus years of experience, the leaders in town when it comes to audiovisual. Thanks very much for joining us today. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Michael. You too.
For those of you that are sticking with us, a reminder that you can visit obj.ca website every day. We have that website updated with local news on a weekday basis. I really recommend that you subscribe to OBJ Today, which is OBJ's weekday email newsletter. That newsletter is like a synopsis of effectively everything that happened in the day in terms of news. Plus, it gives you some teasers on events, virtual events, awards programs coming up. By the way, 40 Under 40 is just around the corner. You can also follow OBJ on social media. LinkedIn tends to be very popular. I think we have over 22,000 followers. And since many of you are watching on YouTube today, make sure to click the red subscribe button and hit the little bell icon, and that will notify you when we're live. Thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you to Rob and all his colleagues at Interactive Audio Visual. Hope to see you real soon. Please stay connected. Stay safe. Bye-bye.